Welcome, everyone, and welcome to the Women's Business Center. And this is Navigating Corporate Procurement to Grow Through Certification. I'm Erica Small-Cisco, and I'm the Program Director of the Women's Business Center. And we have a couple, we have our team on the line, which is Deborah Giddens. And there's Deborah. And also Tasha Sanders, who is driving everything for us. And then we have Lisa Parks, who is with the Institute for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. She's with our new Business Development Center at ODU. And Lisa, if you could just wave to let everybody know who you are there. Lisa, again, joined our team about 3 weeks ago. And she brings to us her expertise from working at the PTAC for many years. But today we want to highlight Sandra Eberhardt, who is with, was formerly, well, she'll explain the transition, but she's the executive director for the Women's Enterprise.
That's okay. I'll do it. It's a little bit confusing.
A little bit confused. She'll explain it. But we're going to talk about certification, certification to scale your business. After Sandra talks, and then Lisa has a chance to introduce the new Business Development Center, I want to share information about VWIC, which is the Virginia Workforce and Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center. And they are offering they're actually funding the scholarships that we have for the process of those who want to go through the third-party certification. Normally there's a cost to that, but because of the times that we're going through, we have a grant, and we're a sub-awardee of the VWIC grant. Again, that's going to give us an opportunity to sponsor some of the ladies who would like to apply for certification, again, for the third-party certification. So I'll explain that and how it will work after Sandra finishes. And she's going to introduce to us her new organization and talk about the benefits of corporate certification.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Sandra Eberhardt, as you can see in the little square here. I'm actually CEO and president of an organization that belongs to a national organization called WBENC. WBENC is WBENC. It is Women Business Enterprise National Council. There are 14 regional partners that support all the efforts of WBENC. And I will get to that towards the middle of my program here. Above my head, you see two different names: WBEC, Women Business Enterprise Council, Metro New York, and Women Business Enterprise Council, Greater DMV. And so those are two of the 14 regional partners that support WBENC, and they are defined by territories, but that'll be clearer as we move on. I'm about to share my screen right now, because what I'd like to talk about is corporate America, right? So we have two different types of opportunities in the world that we work in. And those opportunities come, let's see here, if we make this, okay. Those opportunities come in the commercial world, but those opportunities also come, as you know, in the public space. And because of where we live in the whole DMV and the Virginia, Maryland, and DC area, we understand the federal and the public opportunities, but we may not necessarily understand corporate opportunities. Let's see if I can move this. Yeah, well, my PowerPoint doesn't want to seem to move. Oh, there we go. So when I talk about corporate America, I'm talking about all those folks who sit on those, who sit on the publicly traded places, right? So we're talking everywhere from Aetna to Zillow. Anybody who's publicly there, who are domestic, but also who works internationally, are the folks that we are working with. we work with them through their supplier diversity teams. We work with them through their, what they call procurement. And one of the things that are different between our commercial world and our public world is that even though the functions may seem to be exactly the same, the language is different. So it's like speaking two different languages. In the commercial world, the buyers, right, the contracting managers, they're all called procurement. So the procurement departments for many corporations live in the United States and all over the world where their corporations are. And so these are the folks who do all of the buying for the company. They're a team of people who are specialized in what they do, very similar to our buyers in the contract managers in the federal space. They're looking to work with you, just like the federal government, because everybody knows that when you have a diverse operation, when you have a diverse, diversity in your conversation, you are better for it. For innovation, right? We're talking about supply chain strength. We're talking sometimes on the federal side, we're even talking regulatory requirements. Make no mistake, the biggest corporate folks who sit on the NASDAQ, who are publicly traded, those are your federal primes. You're talking IBM, you're talking Accenture, you're talking Ernst & Young, you're talking Verizon and AT&T. Those are your corporate primes in many of the cases, and they sub out the work to businesses just like yours. One of the things that folks don't necessarily understand is that small business, us, anybody who's under what, $100 billion, really are the folks who hire in our nation. So that most of the payroll in our country, it's even bigger than 41%, comes from you. So to support the local markets, they want to work with our suppliers, and that's to fuel local economy. Our government is based on you and I buying items, going to the store and spending our money. Very worried about the economy during COVID this last year because we all held on to our money. We didn't spend it anywhere. Quite frankly, we didn't have too many places to spend it except for food and unfortunately spirits and alcohol. But so all of that hurts the economy. So it also gives them a competitive advantage when they have a diverse supply chain. So the key is they want to work with diverse business owners. They want to have a diverse supply chain, but how do they find you? They do not want to go out and look for you. They partner with organizations who find you, who validate you, and then they support those organizations for that effort. So partner organizations in our world, the supplier diversity world, are called NGOs, or non-government organizations. They also work with specialized industry groups. And I always tell everybody, no matter what industry you're in, you should also be in your industry group. They see you through thought leadership. Nowadays, you might have a podcast, or you might have a book, or you might be on a speaking tour. Believe it or not, the folks who work in those corporations see you on Facebook, see your Instagram, see your podcasts, and that thought leadership makes you visible to them. And it also includes awards. All those things are noticed by the corporations, by the supplier diversity programs that are specialized just to find diverse suppliers in our world. So, and I put this one here because it always made me smile. So I always want to say to everyone, especially those who have businesses, please know who you are and what you sell, right? Do you sell a product or a service? And whatever it is that you sell, what solution are you solving? For corporate America, or for anybody to buy what you sell, they must need it. They're not going to buy it just to try it, but they are going to buy it because they need it. It's the same type of shopping that we do. That's the same shopping they do for suppliers. I like this, the colors that I put in here, because all of these brands that you see on the screen, all of these brands have supplier diversity programs. They buy everything that you could possibly imagine, they buy. But you have to be able to tell them what you sell, and it has to be in a clear fashion so that they can understand how it meets their needs. So again, why does your company exist? Do you offer a solution for a specific current or future problem? And what makes your solution different from others? I also like to coach and say, you can't say because you do it better than anybody else, or that you do it the best, or that you're quick, or that you're accurate. All of those things are assumed automatically. There has to be a special differentiator that you're able to articulate for them to understand exactly what it is that you do. So how do you work with them? How do you get the business, right? Do you know who your prospects are? I know some of you are on the call today, and this is great. I applaud everybody who's here to understand if corporate America is another avenue for you other than the federal government or the local government entities that you're working with. But do you know what that really means? Have you done your homework for all of them? Do you understand the sourcing process? Do you know how to negotiate a deal? Once you get an opportunity, do you really know how to negotiate a deal? Do you know how to grow? Do you know how to grow your relationship? Do you know how to scale your business? When you reflect on your business and you look at where you were, especially last year, how do you pivot? How did you pivot last year and this year so that you continuously create value for the folks who buy or use your services? All those are questions that get answered with you and for you in our network. Now, it's not easy. You know, I'm making it sound like, yep, they're out there looking for you. As soon as they find you, they're going to sign you on. Well, no, it is not easy, right? You have some challenges that they bring to the table. They might already have a supplier who does what you do, not just the corporations, but the federal government as well. They have to decide if it's worth taking the risk to make a change. Of course, it's always about the cost. It is not lowest cost. It is about value. For corporations, it's always about value. Sometimes in the public entity, some of the rules and regulations make it so that it's about the lowest cost when the bids come in the door. With corporations, it's always about value. What are you offering for the price that you're asking? One of the sad things I can say to the ladies on this phone is that we, as women, undervalue ourselves, our products and our services, whether we're asking for a job, asking for a raise, or selling something to someone else. So cost is something that for this network, we talk about the right value for what you're selling and make sure that you're looking to do that. Performance, again, once you get a contract, whether it's on the government side or the commercial side, there's a whole team of people who are managing your performance so they could determine if you deserve more opportunity inside of their operation, if they should partner with you to help you grow larger, to scale even within their corporation. Once they get you in, they really do want to keep you, but they're watching your performance and they're scoring your performance all the time. And then, of course, there's all about relationship. We know that you have to work on the very many different relationships that you have, whether it's in the government or in corporate America, and that you have to stay relevant. They're looking for you to be the expert in what it is you do so that you can come to them and you can say, are you aware that this is what's happening in our world right now? And are you aware of it? And are you ready for it? We're ready to help you get there. That's the type of partnership that corporations are looking for when they bring a supplier on. It may not start that way, but you can make yourself more relevant and current by doing that. So all of those is to say that you need to plan, prepare, participate, and persevere, right? But I like to say you can't go knocking on the door of IBM or of Starbucks or of any of the Walmart, any of the retailers, but all of those folks live in our network. All of those folks are looking for you through their NGO partners. So that's why I like to call it the secret sauce. So the NGOs that corporate America works with are minority-owned, validated minority-owned suppliers, validated women-owned suppliers, validated LGBTQ suppliers, disability suppliers, and veteran suppliers, right? So there are 5 very large NGOs that this is why we were created, was to support corporate America in their efforts to build a diverse supply chain. The Women Business Enterprise National Council was created back in 1997 as corporate America found out that even though we had the Minority Council that was alive and well since 1972, that women were not considered minorities. However, women-owned businesses was the fastest growing in our country and is still the fastest growing today. So in order to support the efforts of the women business owners who generate more than $1.9 trillion, more than some countries out there, and actually employ more than 9 million folks in our country, that they needed to make sure that these businesses survive. So WBENC is born. WBENC is the entity and the commodity. It's the national organization that created certification, or that validation that I talked about. That validation is about 51% ownership, management, and control of your business, whether it's one person or a group of women. And that validation, the corporations agree to, that validation lives today. And the National Council has a committee of corporations who still manage those standards to this day, and any changes to those standards. We waived a few things last year that continue into this year, some of those standards documentation because of COVID and keeping everyone safe, but they are the ones who had to make those exceptions. So once we understood exactly what the standards of certification are that corporations did agree to, WBENC went about a way of trying to find the business owners that met the standards in the country. They created, originally there were 5 different businesses that were already women-centric, which today has grown to 14. We consider ourselves, we are WBENC. We are all 501c3s, as is WBENC, and we do not compete with you. We are here just to support you. That is our sole purpose. These slides need a little bit of updating, so I do apologize, because as you can see on this map, that my name still is WPEO-DC. I am Women Presidents Educational Organization, but doing business as the WBEC Metro New York and WBEC Greater DMV, right? So New York actually supports all of New York State, Southern Connecticut, and Northern New Jersey. There's another RPO that sits in the center. And then here in the Greater DMV, we support all of Maryland, all of DC, and all of Virginia. What that means is that we do outreach like this to talk to the women businesses in the territory to let you know that there is an organization here to support you, not just to validate you, but to support you once you are validated, so that we can make sure that you have the capacity, that make sure that you are visible, and make sure that you have the opportunity, so the content, the community, and the connections to be part of a corporation's supply chain. The good news, I want to go backwards, but I'm afraid I don't know how to do that. But on the slide before, it showed a map of the United States. And the issue there is that we are a national network with local support. We're a local network with national support. The certification that is WBENC's is belongs to WBENC, which means that it is national, so that you can do business inside of our network with any corporation that is either part of our network or outside of our network. We are currently actually at 17,000 plus businesses that have been through our process across the nation. which is truly the sum of the parts, right? In New York, we have 1,400 who have been certified through our process. And in the DMV territory, we have 800 who have been certified through our process, which is included in the total number of WBENC. We have 350 national corporate members. We have close to 100 local corporate members that are also in our network. And we don't just have corporations in our network, we also have cities and counties that are in our network and fast track opportunities for several states. Because we are a national network, many of the states, even outside of our territory, like Philadelphia and Massachusetts, accept the WBENC certification outright if you have a reach into those states and want to do business there. As I said, there are 14 regional partners and there's one national partner. Since we are 501c3s, that means that we're tax exempt. We are an organizations that work for educational purposes with our businesses, which means we don't do advocacy. So we have WIP is our one national partner who does the advocacy for us. So we are very protective of our brand. And there are three pieces to our brand, and I'll show the next one on the next page. And we're very protective because it protects you. Our goal is to fuel local economy by supporting businesses. Locally, we have a goal that says in 10 years, we want to support 50% of the businesses in our territories, but we want to support you through our corporations and our federal government, right? So that more than 50% of their spend, and that's what we call when they contract with you and pay your contract, is the money is called spend, that we want that 50% of their spend to be with our network. So as we work towards that goal, we work through WBENC and we work through the federal government, but only for folks that we validate that are women-owned. And those are the ones who are 51% businesses that are 51% owned and controlled, so that you know that when you're competing with another women-owned business, that it's a real women-owned business and not just the face of a person or a woman when there's really men in the background running the organization. On this slide, it shows you what we call WBENC Link 2.0. That is the name of our database. When you apply, that is the database that makes you visible in our network to those who are part of our network, meaning our corporations. The brand guidelines, as I said, we're protective of, that everybody who is in this network uses these brand guidelines for the protection of you, your information, and for our efforts as you're moving forward. I want to say it's 5 years old right now, that middle piece or women-owned logo. You may have seen this in some of the stores in Walmart. I was just in Trader Joe's recently and had to stop in my tracks because there were some flowers that were in Trader Joe's that had the women-owned logo on the tag. You can only use and have access to that logo if you are part of this WBENC network. It's the external face of proving to anyone who wants to know that the product is created by a business that is women-owned. The last one that you see here is what we call the WBENC seal, and that's the one that has been around since our inception. That's the one that our corporations use. It's a seal. They know when they see that you have been through the process and your business is definitely women-owned. So this is the internal seal for proof, and then the women-owned logo is your external seal. And those who have services rather than products, they put it on their website, they put it on their marketing materials, and you could use either one or you could use both. So this is, adds to this is our women-owned small business opportunities. We have been, since 2011, we have been one of the 4 third-party certifiers for the federal government, and we continue as they moved forward with the rules for certification. Many of you may not know that you may be self-certified in the past, and even though that there was third-party certification, when an audit was done within the first 3 years of certification being live, they found that there was much fraudulent information in the database. Congress said, that's it, we wanted third-party certification. It's taken quite a while for them to get the information, the process, and the standards together to make that happen. But now everybody has to be third-party certified, whether it's through the SBA or through their third-party, for third-party certifiers. So what we decided, even when we apply to be a third-party certifier, one of our goals is to give access to our business owners, right? And so even though you go through the WBENC certification process, many of the standards for the federal government process is exactly the same. The few differences are that you have to be a small business based on federal guidelines. Your company has to be directly held. You have to work full time, which is 30 hours in the federal government's choices here. And there's one more piece, the makeup of your board, right? So those are the only differences. There are a few differences in documents that we would need to review. But since they had the same requirements that we do in WBENC, we do both, and we do both at the same time. There is a charge for the WBENC certification, but there's no additional charge for us to do women-owned small business as well. Okay. So what I like to say here is that this database, I like to say what it is and what it isn't, right? So the database is an online mechanism for us and you to utilize to make the certification process go faster. It is a very secure place where we ask you the questions, when you fill out your application, your affidavit, you upload your documentation, because we ask for documented proof of gender, of ownership, of management, and even control through the structure of your organization. And those documents can be found at WBENC, WBENC.org. There's the standards for certification and the documents that are needed. In addition to that, this database houses the contact information for all of our corporate members, both national and local. National and local across the country means there's more than 700 companies in our database, of which once you're certified, you have access to all of that information. The corporations also have access to the database, and they go in when they have opportunities, and they actually do a query looking for you inside of that database. This is self-serve to get your certificates, and it shouldn't be plural, because you get a separate certificate for WBENC and a separate certificate for women-owned small business, both of which you really need to take to the corporations and the federal government so that the buyers, the procurement team, the contract managers have access. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. It's also your place to find your WBENC seal, as well as your woman-owned logo in many different formats, whether it's digital, whether it's for print, or for today's use, black and white or color. We like to tell you to use this database as your resume, right? If corporations or public agencies are looking for you in our database, you want them to be able to find you. So there are places that asks you questions like, what is your business certified for? And you can't just take your capability statement narrative and cut and paste it. You have to think, what are the keywords that I am able to do, capable to do, and certified for? There's a section that asks you for your capabilities and experience, and that's where you would put your narrative. But there are two different places to do that. We do recertify on a yearly basis because that's important to our corporations. Remember, we want them to say that they are women business friendly without ending up on the front page of the Wall Street Journal saying, yeah, sure, you're woman friendly. It happened to Walmart, and most of all of you remember when it happened to Walmart, right? So we make sure every year that you are still in the same place that you are now, that you have the same control, same management, and same ownership levels. So we ask you to keep your information up to date. make sure that it's searchable, and then we have different courses to show you how to do that, right? Don't let your certification expire. I think I really touched on this about it being internal and external as well. And so we put this here. You guys are in the area where you may have already determined if women-owned small business is right for your company. But if you have questions about that, we have folks on the line who will be able to help you. I am a proponent of diversifying your business, both public and commercial, making sure that you have the opportunities that exist in both places, and making sure that one place, losing business in one place, is not going to close your business. These are the differences in standards that I talked about earlier between what we do at WBENC certification and the additional checks we would have to do for women-owned small business certification. Our guarantee is that we do both within 90 days. And because our process has been modified because of COVID, right now we're actually doing it within 60 days. So I talked about the support once you are certified. And the support is local and the support is national. At the local level, we talk about these as different types of programs. These programs are not only onboarding and who are we type programs, there are connection points. Our theme for this year is content, about information you need to keep your business successful, to help it thrive and grow. We talk about community, building community among the folks inside of our network, because peer-to-peer information, peer-to-peer talking to business owners like yourselves is something that women business owners need. Where many of us are out there as sole proprietors. We have questions. We can share best practices. More so, we can share challenges and not make the same mistakes as others. So we work to build community. And we also work to build connections to opportunities, but connections also to learn the languages of those entities that you're trying to do business with. And we do it through matchmaker, one-on-one conversations. We do smaller or a little bit larger conversations, which we call brown bag lunches, which is usually about 20 people in a room with a corporation. We do it through networking events. Right now, our networking events are all online. They're not in person. Hopefully 2022, we will get back together again. And we have just 2-hour networking conversations with food and adult beverages so that you get to meet the corporations who you're building relationships with. We have 2 events. We called them our breakfast in the past. We sort of do that early morning space because you'll find that the NGOs all have different months of the year and times of day because we're respectful of one another, because the opportunities can come in many different places. We have always been in that breakfast space. And so the names of our events, even though there's not a breakfast event actually, folks know us through that. So our annual breakthrough breakfasts and procurement fairs are really about us and our metrics, measuring ourselves, all the efforts that we've done all year long. Is it working? Does certification really work? And we do that by counting how many contracts and how much money was spent with our business owners. And we give awards to our corporations for the amount of money they spend, for the amount of number of WBEs that they touch in our network with contracts. And we give awards to our WBEs for doing business with each other. So there are awards. Awards make you visible, right? If you know that there's a corporation out there who's spending the money, you know that it's real. If you know there's another WBE out there who's willing to do business with you, then that's also very real. It makes it visible. We do larger events so that you learn who the corporations are. We say corporations like it is one entity. And you have to understand that all corporations are different. They have different cultures. They have different buying cycles. They have different procurement rules and regulations. We help you get to understand those, especially for the ones that you want to do business with. So on the right-hand side, we talk about prime suppliers. In the corporate world, primes are a little bit different than in the federal world. In the corporate world, they are also directly paid, but you as a contractor to the primes are very visible to the corporations. Corporations require prime suppliers to have subs sometimes not, but it could be the prime suppliers, their own standard, right? But you as a contractor are visible to the corporation, and it gives you the opportunity to be visible and possibly get your own prime contract. However, money is green, and whatever level you're able to get a contract in is okay. It doesn't say that the contract is less. I like to say when you think about lumber specialists, right? We have a huge lumber specialist in our network nationally, and they are never a prime. They're always working for a contractor, and they're billionaires, right? We do WBE to WE programs, and those are women to women, business to business, because sometimes you think you don't want to ask a question in a meeting when there's a corporation who could see you, because you're worried about what they're going to think about you or your question. We want to make sure that there are opportunities when you can talk to one another and share best practices. My favorite is challenges that somebody turned into wins. It's one of my favorite ones, and we all learn a lot from that. The other programs that you see here are specialized programs that we do. Right now, for instance, locally, we have programming where we have 27 Black-owned businesses that we are building community in our network. One of our corporate members, many of our corporate members want to support the Black-owned communities after all of the social issues we had last year. So we, for 6 months, we have this program where we're not only giving content, but we're building community with 27 businesses in our network. Our SAGE program is also 6 months this year. It's usually a year long, but because these are virtual, we thought that 6 months would work. Those are for the smaller, younger companies under $2 million, where we give you content for business development and connections to Capital One, who is our big sponsor, and they bring in their internal teams to talk about different aspects, along with giving accountability partners from their teams. So there's a lot of different support that we do right in our local network. And then you think, is that enough? No. Right here is just a slide, and it's a sampling slide of some of the programming that happens at the national level. And that means you don't just get programming and support and development locally, but you also get it nationally. You get to meet other women from across the country. You get to learn different things from across the country, and you get to meet corporations from across the country. So I didn't update the slide, so I apologize. It says interim president and CEO as of last September. I was interim as of March. I became president and CEO of both organizations. I don't know if Lizzie Reed was able to make the call this morning. And so this is the team that's in the DMV that will support you as you move forward. And then there's another team in New York that supports that market. We work together to support the network. And so that's the end of my presentation, but I'll happily take questions if I can figure out how to stop sharing. If you give me 1 second, escape. There we go. Okay. So if there's questions anybody has about any portion of the presentation, any question about WBENC, any question about being a third-party certifier for the federal government, any questions about corporate America?
Yes, I have some questions in the chat, so I'll go ahead and read them off to you.
Okay.
All right. The first question is from Tanya Moore. She wants to know, what does NGO stand for?
Oh, non-government organization, NGO. We say it that way because we want to make sure that you know that we're not competitive with you, nor are we competitive with each other. But there are 5 large non-government organizations that support the diverse suppliers in our country. As we know, as women on this call, without acting intentionally, things just don't happen organically. We have to act intentionally, and the corporations and even the federal government are acting intentionally by having these programs. Corporations, Supply Diversity Program, and for the federal government, they have several programs where they act intentionally to support small business.
And next question, it's two parts. I'll read them. The first one is in regards to the WBE logo. Is there a logo for WBEs that is nationally recognized?
The logo that you see on the screen is not only nationally recognized, it is internationally recognized. WBENC is the national organization. They created the certification standards. Those logos are for validation that you've been through the national process. Each one of the 14 regional partners, including my two, utilize the same exact process to certify businesses, whether it's for the federal government or for WBENC. And it is a nationally recognized logo. If you go into the stores and you see that women-owned logo, if you see it in Trader Joe, which is national, it would be in every store. If you see it in Walmart, if you see it in Starbucks, you see it in an Apple store, you would be surprised.
Great. And the other part is third-party certification beneficial to businesses that have one employee, which is normally the owner?
Yes, absolutely. Remember that you want to target not just corporations or the federal government, but you want to target other businesses who want to do work with you. The reason the women-owned logo was created is because Walmart did a study and found out that 90% of the time, which kind of stunned me when they came back with this, 90% of the time, you and I on this call, if we know that something was created and owned and done by a woman, we would try that before we try anything else. There are many businesses in our network who only do business with the other businesses in the network. And sole proprietors, you might have the best innovative idea that the corporations are looking for. And they would be even willing to help you scale it if it's the right product or service.
Great. And a request is, will the presentation be emailed to the participants? Will this presentation be available for participants to review later? I know we're recording this, but will your PowerPoints or will your presentation be available?
I can make it available. It doesn't have the most updated information. If you would mind, let me update the page for WBENC that shows the 350 WBENC. Let me update it, and then yes, I will make it available to everybody.
Okay. And another question, Lisa Parks. Can you be a new startup?
And startup in what phase? We don't have the tools to help you start your business, but if you are already incorporated or you're an LLC or you're a sole proprietor and you have started your business, of course, then yes, that's not a problem at all.
Does that answer your question, Lisa?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Are there any additional questions? If you want to raise your hand, and I'll let you unmute yourself.
I just would also encourage you to go to WBENC.org. That's the national network, because they just launched a new website last month, which incorporates some of the things that we all did together in 2020. So part of the pivot, number one, was that all of you who now provide PPE, for instance, we provided to our corporations lists every week of every company in our network who provided some type of PPE, whether it was service or products. And many of our corporations use that. McCormick, who is one of our local corporate members, has a testimonial that helped us understand that one of our women business owners saved the work that happens in their factory because they were able to provide the PPE for them very faster than any other large companies could. Another pivot that was done last year for those of you who sell products and sell products to the travel industry, the airline industry, the hotel industry, all of whom were in our network. But those industries weren't up and running. So we created an online directory, an online catalog with folks who wanted to have their products in the catalog that we distribute to all of our corporations. So, and then courses were created to help folks survive through COVID, grow through COVID, and thrive through COVID. And that happened not just at the national level, but on the local level as well. And remind you that there are 14 regional partners out there. You can go to any one of their websites, look at any one of their programs that you're able to participate in, because that's where you want to sell your products or services.
Okay, we have another question is, how long does the process take?
As I said, we guarantee, if you look at the website, the guarantee is 90 days, but most of us are at that 60-day level because we've modified our process. And the modifications for our process came because of COVID. Some of the things that we required, we have waived. For instance, a notarized affidavit is waived. Our in-person site visit, we would come to your office and talk to you. That has changed to a site visit, but it's done virtually now. And excuse me. So that has helped us do things a bit faster. And that includes your women-owned small business certification in that 60 days as well.
Okay, very good. I have one more question, but I want this person to unmute and ask their question. Sherry, can you unmute yourself?
Hello. Excellent presentation. Thank you so much. I just wanted to know, you mentioned that some of you were, all of you were 501c3s.
Yes.
Does all the business have to be a 501c3 in order to participate?
Oh, no. This is for-profit businesses. You guys are for-profit. We are, the NGOs are 501c3s. And I just wanted to say that because I wanted to make sure that everybody understands that we're here to support you. We're not here to compete with you for contracts. So we are organizations that deliver education and connections to our for-profit entities, which would be you. So it would be sole proprietor, it would be corporation, or it would be LLCs.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. There are two more questions. Okay, more questions are coming in. All right. So what if your business is virtual? Hold on. let me see if I can get this person to unmute to make sure her question is being asked. D.A. Carter, can you unmute, please?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a virtual business. I know you're not doing the site visits anymore, but were there any other stipulations that generally would apply to the brick and mortar businesses versus the virtual business?
The only thing that, because we've had this issue come up in the past where somebody's business was solely virtual. And so usually folks who are like that use their home address as their headquartered address, and then that would be fine. The issue that I had initially was the person had no headquarters, no headquartered address. So we had to figure out a workaround to try and determine where the business existed. And I don't remember if the business was certified or not. We do have a 4% denial rate, guys. So, we're very protective of you, women-owned businesses in the network. But no, there are no restrictions. I think most businesses are virtual right this very second as I sit at home in my dining room talking to you.
I'm LLC'd, but I'm registered under a P.O. box. So I don't use my physical address for anything pertaining to my business.
So I would have to talk to you and talk to our certification team to find out the standard for that. You may have to put your home address on our file so that we know that you exist. right? One of our issues is that we have ownership, management, and control, but that you really are a viable business. And PO boxes are not, some of the PO boxes live in UPS stores, and then it looks like UPS stores, but certified.
Absolutely. Okay. I do contracts. So I'll definitely, I won't hold anyone else up, but I thank you for your response and your time, and I will follow up in regards to that.
Okay. And please, my email address, let me give you that, guys, because it has changed a bit, or Erica, you can circulate it. So it's my first initial, last name, which you see on the screen. So S. Eberhard, and that's at WBEC NYDMV.org. First initial, last name, SEBER. Yep. Tasha put it. Thank you. Tasha put it in the chat. Thank you, Tasha.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for answering my question. Have a great day.
Not a problem.
All right. We have a few more questions. Do you have to have had any certifications or have been through a certification process in order to use your program?
No, you do not.
Okay. And I'm going to ask Erica to unmute herself. And can
let me just clarify. So we have some specialized programs. For instance, right now I talked about Amplify, our program that is funded through Altria, right? So you guys all know Altria. They funded a program because they wanted to support businesses in our network. So that program was offered to certified businesses. And the SAGE program that is funded through Capital One is also for folks who are certified in the network. And why these programs are only for folks inside the network is that these companies are invested. They are vested in helping build the capacity of businesses that have been certified and validated as women-owned so that they can contract with them, right? So they're not going to contract unless something really special is out there, in their diversity language with businesses that are not certified. They might contract with you, but they won't count you as women-owned. So these businesses were created for us to build capacity so that they can come back and contract with you. That's the key. But most of our programs are offered to anybody in who's available and wants to come.
And Erica?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Sandra. I had two questions. I wanted to know, do corporations let WBEC know when they utilize a certified WBE? And then also, what is the business's responsibility? So once you have a woman who is certified, what is her responsibility to report those successes back to WBEC? I know sometimes that's information when people get business, they don't always share it with us. So,
right. So there's, yes, thank you. So yes to both is that the corporations who can, and I have to, put a clarifier on that. Some corporations can't tell us their spend or the names of the folks they contract with. You heard me talk about our Breakthrough Breakfast, which is where we count the amount of contracts and deals done for a year. We have new goals for 2021 into 2022, and we're going to be asking for that information quarterly because we want to know more about the spend and make sure that it's steadily increasing. So when we give the corporations our database and say, please identify the businesses that you're doing business with and how much you've paid them over the year. We don't identify or share the names of the WBEs and their contract amounts, but we do share who has had a contract in our network, the names of the WBEs, and who has reported spend in our network, meaning the corporations. So to earn an award, we do have an opportunity to report what we call a done deal. If you do a deal with a corporation, if you do a deal with another WBE, you can report that to us through our website. And then you could tell us, can this be published, is a question that we also ask. And even though we may count it and include it in aggregate numbers, Erica, if you say no, you can't publish it, then we would never publish it, publicly, except in the aggregate of our numbers. And just to let you guys know, last year was a crazy year, right? We had 10 to 15 of our corporations who took the time to stop what they were doing to report done deals for us. And we still had $1 billion in spend locally. And it's done each year separately. So we still had $1 billion, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that information.
I hope I've answered everybody's questions. You know where to find me. Erica certainly knows where to find me. And so I'm hoping to see you guys, hopefully in our network. If not, that's okay. I did mention, this year, well, everything is virtual in our world. Next year, we'll probably be back in person. There are national events, 1 or 2 that we do each year. And then of course, locally that we do something every month. So there's opportunity to meet others. There's opportunity to participate and meet the corporations face to face, no matter who it is who's in our network. I always find that amazing, right? So when I came out of corporate America, but to meeting Disney and meeting the car companies and meeting all of the oil and gas companies, I always find it pretty amazing when all the cars show up in the showroom.
This has absolutely been amazing. There was a question that came up about the cost, and there is a cost for certification, and that was the beauty of this program. We have been trying to connect or partner, have a greater partnership with WBENC for years, and Sandra has been there for us. And so this year we do have a scholarship. And last year we had a program, Scholarship for Scale, where we were able to pay for 50% of it. This year we will be able to pay for 100%. Again, we have scholarship funds to offer to qualified businesses who are seeking a certification with through WBEC. We'll have a part 2 to this. We have to schedule it, and we will work out those details and but definitely let everybody who's on this call know. For those who do not want who were not looking for third-party certification, that only wanted the government piece, the federal certification, the WOSB or EDWOSB. Again, Lisa Parks is now with our organization supporting us, the Women's Business Center, for the third-party certificate for the, WSB or EDWSB solely. But again, for those who want to seek the WBEC, WBENC certification through WBEC, this Scholarship for Scale event is for you, and we're looking for you to join us for part 2.
And so just a quick clarification, they're both third-party certified, right? So women-owned small business is third-party certification as well. There's no longer self-certification. So one is WBENC and one is the federal government, but they're both still third-party.
Yes. All right. Well, Sandra, thank you so much for enlightening us on with this information. This has been absolutely wonderful. And I thank all of you for joining us today, and look forward to seeing you on our next program.
So much for the opportunity. And I wish you all well, success, growth, and thriving out there in our new normal, whatever that may be. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.